Hey everyone, I want to welcome you back to the channel. If you are not subscribed, I would love for you to hit that subscribe button. I do talk about comic books and I give some comic book reviews as well. So I want to ask your help with something here, and I want to ask a question today. Everybody's talking about these DC layoffs being what they call a bloodbath. And to me, it seems a little bit, for one, polarizing to say that, but a little bit of an exaggeration in a sense. Ever since the time WarnerMedia merging with AT&T, they've already kind of come out and said that this kind of thing it was going to be happening. That basically they were going to, with this acquisition, a lot of this was predicted, and we do see a few things happening. We already saw a few months ago Dan Didio leaving the company. We saw DC changing distributors, moving away from Diamond distributors, and it looks like they're moving to a higher source of digital content. So there's a lot of different opinions about all of that, about digital specifically. All of this is kind of polarizing, to be perfectly honest. But I want to ask the question of you: do you really believe that this is a bloodbath? I actually think that that's a little bit of sensationalism, to be perfectly honest with you. So I'll kind of go over. You probably have heard this. I'm going to make it quick, but there were a lot of rumors kind of going around about people who had been let go. What we've actually seen, people were saying that Jim Lee was let go. He actually got promoted. And, I don't know exactly, of course, what his title's going to be. There were some people that were let go. Bob Harris was kind of a surprise for a lot of people. He was the editor-in-chief. And who knows who's going to step into that role? There's been a lot of people on social media thinking that it was going to be some esports writer that they're bringing aboard. I don't think that that's actually going to be the case. We've seen, over by Bobbie Chase. She's left the company. She was let go. She was in charge of some of the digital content. So she has a really high reputation in the business, just nothing but high praise for her. And over at the channel Comics by Perch, he said that he would pick Bobbie Chase for editor-in-chief at Marvel Comics. That's really high praise, and I love to see that. Someone so beloved in the industry, of course, hoping that she lands on her feet, that everyone lands on their feet. We saw three major editors let go: Brian Cunningham, Mark Doyle, and Andy Corey. And Mark Doyle and Andy Corey, they were undergoing the newest iteration of the Vertigo line, and it really did turn out to be a failure, as far as sales are concerned. And, they kind of developed a reputation. Mark Doyle was put in charge of the Black Label imprint, which kind of felt like it wanted to be like Vertigo. They were just focusing more on classic characters. What I think failed with that Vertigo line? They were trying to kind of create an independent feel out of DC Comics. And, a lot of people talk about this and there's varying opinions, but if you're a major publisher, if you're Marvel Comics, if you're DC Comics, be Marvel and DC Comics. We see Boom is just doing absolutely incredible as a publisher recently. Well, they're an indie publisher, and they're going the indie route. They have such a different, diverse, kind of out there selection of different books, from sci-fi to horror to fantasy to, even some supernatural thrillers, whatever. They have some great properties as well, of course. That's a completely other topic that I'm going to cover soon on this channel. But look, I can see some of these dismissals. Some of these people were high-dollar paychecks, and they just brought in, they had a lot of money going out from the business, and apparently there were some redundancy. So, look, I want to say this. I do feel bad for anyone losing their job. When it comes down to Andy Corey, his behavior on social media has always been a little bit out there. He's publicly been very confrontational to people. And this is kind of a thing, for me to ask. Are you on Twitter? Do you follow all the drama about what creators kind of initiate with people? There were so many live streams that happened when all of these layoffs were announced a couple days ago, and people were celebrating these layoffs. We're talking about Andy Corey, I think, is one of the biggest examples, But look, regardless of whether you condone that kind of behavior, people smarting off on social media or not, whether you think that that's acceptable, I clearly don't. But praising someone getting fired, I don't want to go there. I don't think that that's a proper response to this kind of thing. And then we have people on the opposite side. They're saying that they're most upset by these evil comic skaters getting a win by, all these people letting go. And that bothers me too, not the idea that people lost their jobs, but they're so upset that they consider this one group of people winning to be their least favorite thing to happen from these layoffs. Again, both sides of this controversy in comic books tend to drag me down a little bit. So I do like to talk about it, and I want to hear your opinions. Are you on one of those sides? Do you absolutely fall on the CG side? Are you like, hey, I barely buy any of these regular books? Or are you on the other side? Do you literally despise these people in CG, saying, but praising all of these layoffs? I think it's bad either way you look at it when it comes down to it. If you're against something so wholeheartedly, then what are you for? And I guess that's my message to myself maybe a couple years ago. If I could step back at where I'm at now and look at things from an outsider perspective and say, look, all of these polarizing views in comic books, does it benefit us? Who does it serve? Who knows? Everyone's self-serving when it comes down to it. So you have to look at that first and foremost. But I do like the idea of unity, as far out as that could possibly be in this day and age. So we have seen a lot of things that are happening here that are coming out of this, in my opinion. I don't feel like a bloodbath is actually a proper response to it, but I do want to know what you think. That's the question of this entire video. Do you feel like this is a bloodbath? A lot of people have seen this coming, but we were told by DC that it was happening, by AT&T, by this merger. We do see that there's going to be a lot less experimentation in these titles. So, going back to the kind of Vertigo line that they had, that Andy Corey was kind of in charge of, it seems to me like DC is going to be doing a lot less of that. The comic book division, this is going to be more of a line of, we want to see which storylines really fix in the comic books. Like, what kind of stuff does fantastic, And, looking at it from this perspective, I think we're going to see a lot more of the classic stories. We're talking about, Wonder Woman, Batman, Superman, Flash. These kind of titles are going to be up on the forefront. And they're going to be doing a lot less experimentation with, say, like what they were doing during Vertigo. A lot of very different kind of titles that felt very independent, And, that's a good and bad thing for different perspectives. As far as money goes, they're definitely going to be saving a lot of money when it comes down to it. It all comes down to it. If you're DC, if those are your characters, it's all about those core characters. And of course, we also want to bring new characters in throughout this. What do you think, though? I have a very interesting kind of opinion about this. I don't feel like everybody really does support my perspective. So I really do want to hear what you think. And, guys, I know that a lot of people watch my channel who really haven't subscribed yet. So, if you kind of want to hear what I have to say, it's very different opinions than a lot of people probably give. I just want to talk about comic books, but most of all, I really want to hear about your opinions, your perspectives, and what do you think? That's probably my favorite part of this, is getting to have some real discussion in the comments below. Once again, it's New Comic Book Day. I'd love to hear what you're reading as well. I know this isn't necessarily the video for that, but hey, if you want to talk comics instead, tell me what you're reading. What are you loving? Support your local comic shop. You are the gateway into comics.